Welcome to One Brothas Mind, and I am KD Smooth. Today we will question and challenge popular information and views from a B1 perspective, while we expose the real facts you need. We do this to strengthen your logical, critical, and discerning thinking skills. Because in today's world, hard choices are mandatory and they come with consequences. So you need all the information. And at One Brothas Mind, we do this from a B1 Yeshua the Christ followers perspective. Now, if you're not ready, you better get ready with KD Smooth at One Brothas Mind. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's KD Smooth coming back at you with a new report. I pray you all are doing well. Shalom, family. In today's report, we are going to discuss this issue on your screen. Yeah. Many of you may not have heard of this issue, being that Medicaid, SNAP, TANIF, other assistance benefits are being deleted by tricks. They playing games with people who are in poverty, who are in need. Who are in need of these various assistance programs, at least temporarily. And as y'all know, family, many of us so-called black people are getting caught by these same traps and tricks. So we're gonna dig into this. I want to share with you some of the things that is going on that's not being reported, as well as some things that are being reported, and then provide some practical solutions that we can implement to help us out here in these streets, family, because it's getting real choppy. Now, before we get started, family, please remember to smash the likes, smash the like button, smash the like button. Share this report on all your social media with all your peoples, and be sure to be subscribed to One Brothas Mind, where we bring you the information, facts, and truth you need. Okay, let's dig in, family. As I said, there's some really crazy stuff going on right now with the assistance programs in many states. Okay, really, it's happening in all the states. It's just happening significantly more in certain states. We're going to identify those states today. Okay? So, if you guys haven't heard of this article on your screen, put out by Axios Vitals. The link is in the blue link on your screen there in the middle. It's just put out a couple of days ago. Most kids losing Medicaid come from just 9 states, all led by Republicans. Okay? Now, here at One Brothas Mind, I'm not Democrat or Republican. They all devils to me, so that's not the point here. The point is that kids are actually families, and people are losing needed health care coverage, at least according to this article, in states led by Republicans. Okay? Now, we're going to go over this map here briefly. And what I need you guys to focus in on with this map, and I'm going to share some excerpts from this article. But here's the map. The darker color of the state, the higher number of people that are being removed, or in this article they're saying kids are being removed from the Medicaid healthcare coverage program and the CHIP programs, which is also a healthcare coverage program. Okay, so pause the video, find your state. The darker the color, the more people are being removed. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So, real quick, some excerpts from the article. It goes on to read 60% of kids who have lost Medicaid coverage this year, in 2023, came from just 9 states, all of which are Republican-led, according to new data from the Biden administration. Again, Democrat, Republican don't matter to me. The point is, people in need are losing their health care coverage on purpose. I'm going to break it down for you here in a minute. The article goes on to read that in the 10 states refusing the Affordable Care Act's expansion of Medicaid to low-income adults have disenrolled more kids than all of the expansion states combined, the administration also reported. Okay? The context of this is at least 2.2 million kids have been removed from Medicaid and its sister program, the Children's Health Insurance Program, during the so-called unwinding of pandemic-era coverage protections as of September, according to the data from the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services. More recent data tracked by outside sources suggests that this number is close to 3 million. Okay? With that being said, family, there's a lot of people, including kids, that are being kicked off, deleted from the Medicaid program. Many of them, the article goes on to read, many may have been disenrolled because of a procedural issue. Remember that, family. And not necessarily because they were no longer eligible. Okay? I'm going to show you. And also keep in mind that the federal government has no power to really do anything to these particular states that are deleting, unenrolling so many people, so many families, so many kids from their health care coverage. They're powerless for the most part. Okay? Yeah. Again, find your state. And if you're unemployed or qualify as low income, I know most of you guys already know, but this is for everybody else to be aware of what's going on, because one day, if you're not on it today, you may be receiving some sort of assistance one day in the future. Okay? With that being said, family, what you need to focus on, and what I'm reporting here with One Brothas Mind, is it's not just Medicaid that they're using these procedural issues to remove people from the various assistance programs. People that are qualified or the qualified needy, even retirees, Social Security recipients, the disabled, including the parent or guardian, that are receiving health care and assistance from these various programs that you see on your screen. They're using procedural issues to remove people. I'm going to show you here in a moment. They're calling it the unwinding of pandemic coverage. So what they're trying to say is, okay, there were a lot of people that got Medicaid in this example, but really it's all these assistance programs. A lot of people that signed up and was receiving these assistance programs because they were unemployed, their jobs got downsized or closed, they didn't have any income during the pandemic, all of that. Y'all remember all that. And then now that basically they're saying so-called the pandemic is over, people are returning back to work and therefore no longer qualifying for these various assisting programs. So there's the 10 states are saying the numbers are being, and enrollees are unwinding or are being removed because they no longer qualify. That's a lie, family. Yes, is a percentage of that happening? Absolutely. But as the article pointed, many have been disenrolled because of procedural issues. And here at One Brothas Mind, I would argue most are being unenrolled because of procedural issues. And I'm going to show you right now. All right. So again, reviews of Medicaid eligibility were put on hold. They were put on hold during the pandemic, but resumed this spring. Many have been disenrolled because of a procedural issue and not necessarily because they were no longer eligible. Okay? Okay, here's an example. And this is from an example from Indiana, the state of Indiana, where Katie Smooth is coming at you from. Okay? And this is just one example. I'm not just saying that every recipient is experiencing this particular example, but most recipients of all of the assistance programs are experiencing some form, whether or some level of this same type of procedural issues. Okay? Maybe not as much, maybe the same or more. Okay? Now, couple of things that they're doing on your screen. At the top right of your screen, you see an underline. Okay, it says mailing date, right? Of course, these documents have been redacted for privacy, but with that being said, at the top right of the document, you see mailing date. This is the date that the assistance office mailed this notice to the recipient. Okay? November 28th. November 28th was the date they mailed it out. Now, the notice, as you see in the boxes at the top, says that healthcare coverage is in jeopardy of being deleted as of the deadline that the arrow is pointing to, December the 11th. How many days is that, family, approximately? From November 28th to December 11th? It's approximately 2 weeks, right? So you're thinking, okay, well, they gave the recipient a 2-week notice. Not so fast. The November 28th date at the top is the date the assistance provider mailed the notice out. That's not the date that the recipient actually got the notice. So if they mailed the notice out on December 28th, and many of you guys already know that the mail across the U.S., some states are worse than others, basically has slowed down. You used to mail a letter within the state, and you would get that letter within 2 to 3 days. That is no more. Now, you're getting a letter that is mailed interstate anywhere from approximately 6 to maybe 10 days later or more, right? So in this particular case on your screen, the recipient received this mailing from the assistance office on December 7th. Okay? But another key note, the mail for this particular recipient wasn't received until after, say, 4 p.m. So the assistance office was closed by then on December 7th. So there was nothing that the recipient could do on December 7th when they received the notice, right? So essentially, they got the notice and was able to take action on December 8th. So they had literally 3 days to comply with the request for information of this notice, or their health coverage would be deleted. Do you see that? Okay. So at the bottom, it shows, again, it's redacted, but it shows what program is going to be affected. It says health coverage. And then in the middle, they are requesting information about the recipient's wages. And as you see over to the right at the bottom, provide all gross income verification for the last 30 days. And the recipient had 3 days to provide that before their health coverage was going to be deleted. 3 days. Is that enough time, family? Yeah. In addition to that, there are reports, and here I got an example right here on your screen on the left of a recipient who received 4 of these requests from the assistance office for various information on the same day in their mailbox. And actually, the recipient told me that where I sourced this picture from, the recipient confirmed they actually received 5 letters and they forgot to put the 5th letter in the image so it would be included. But in the image, there's 4 assistance request of information notices received in one day. 4. And that recipient had, and it's the same recipient of the one, this notice on the right. That recipient had 3 days to provide all these different information requests information to the assistance office, and their various, whether it was healthcare coverage or whatever it was, SNAP, whatever, cash assistance being turned on, whatever it was going to be deleted. 3 days. Do you think you can come up with that much information in 3 days? And then, in most cases, you physically also have to take that information, if you do get it together, you got to physically take it up to the office. But again, you got 3 days only to gather it and get it up to the office before your various assistance programs are deleted. Now, people that work for the assistance programs in the state and whatever, they'll say, well, it's not as bad as you're making it sound, KD Smooth, because the recipients, once the deadline hits and basically their whatever assistance program is being deleted, the recipient still has up to, in many cases, 30 days after the deadline to submit the information, right? And if the information fulfills the request, their, in this case, healthcare coverage would be restored, right? But let's look at this document here. Do you guys see anything on this document? Pause it if you need to. That literally states that the recipient has up to 30 days after the deadline to submit this information, and their assistance program will be restored. Take your time. Pause it. Blow it up. Make it big on your screen. There's nothing nowhere that says that. So to the recipient, they are completely unaware. To the recipient, all they know, or in this case, all this recipient knew is they had 3 days to provide all this information that was being requested, or they were being canceled. Do you see that? Yeah. You see the games that they're playing? So that's 3 levels of tricks that they're playing with people, and it's literally harassing, and in my opinion here at One Brothas Mind, terrorizing people who are in need, low income, in poverty, unemployed, and all the others. They're literally terrorizing people with these threatening information requests, harassing information requests. And in many cases, here's a 4th level of tricks. In many cases, this information is information the assistance office already has on file. They're just sending these requests out asking for an update if an update or new information is available. So that's 5 tricks that they're playing with people's coverage, right? There's some more other tricks they're playing. I mean, yeah, y'all better wake up to see what's going on here. And again, it's not just the 10 Republican states. It's happening the worst in those. But this stuff is happening all across the country. Don't get it twisted. Okay, so a 6th trick that they're playing in many cases for many people who are receiving some form of assistance. These information requests are actually being sent out on a nearly monthly basis. That's why I said before, oftentimes they're requesting information that they already have. In fact, people have provided the information. It's been documented. And then approximately a month later, they get a request again for the same information. There's been no change. There's been no updates, but they're doing that to say, oh, well, there could have been, we don't know, something could have changed. We got to provide an update. Well, it's part of our process. You see what they're calling procedural issues, they're satanic tricks. Now, anybody would be harassed and terrified by this type of information request with this type of frequency and all these dirty tricks that they're doing. But imagine you're unemployed or low income or disabled or receiving Social Security or retiree receiving Social Security. Imagine that. And now all of a sudden you're being bombarded, whether it's 4 or 5 at the same time or just one or maybe 1, 2 or 3 of them per month at different days come in, and you're jumping. You get to the point where might you start ignoring some of these? You're like, I just gave that information to them last month. They can't cancel me. Yes, they can if you don't respond. They said, we sent out requests. You didn't respond with information. Well, I gave y'all the information, that exact same information 3-4 weeks prior. Do you see that? Now you calling or having to argue with these people over information that you've already provided in many cases. Do you see that? As it was once said, their whole program is to keep your mind in a constant state of aggravation. Anybody in these categories receiving benefits from these assistance programs, you got a whole lot of other things going on in your life that you have to focus on. You ain't got time to be constantly harassed by these information requests / cancellation notices. But they're doing it. What are some of the other things that are going on in people's lives that are receiving benefits from these various assistance programs? You might be a big one. You might be going through relocating. A lot of people are being evicted out here, y'all, or becoming homeless. You know, it's good to relocate. That means you got somewhere to go. Okay. But many people are just being evicted and now they're homeless, living in their cars or what have you. Right? The car done broke down. Your transportation is no good. How are you supposed to get the notice to the office? You know, or you could be through a week or two of illness or more, where you're homesick. You ain't got time to get out of bed to go jump through flaming hoops for information that they're requesting. Do you see how the dirty tricks, they know this stuff is happening to the people, or at least the majority of people that are receiving assistance from these programs? It's a part of the harassment, right? Or you could have new stuff going on that's good. You could have started a new job. Okay, you started a new job today. You get a notice in the mail when you get home, and you got 3 days to provide this information, but you just started a new job. You can't request time off from the job you literally just started just to go turn in some documents at the office that closes before you finish your new work shift. You see the problems that they're causing people playing these games? Yeah, family. Oh, what they're doing is satanic out here in these streets. So, in addition to that, there's a new report that came out here literally, was it yesterday? They're putting the people, the citizens that are receiving assistance benefits through all of the things that I've just shown you and more. But here in many states, in this case on your screen, California, Gavin Newsom actually expanded healthcare coverage for low-income immigrants starting January 1st, Monday. And it's not just immigrants that are here legally. It's their status does not matter, legal or illegal. All immigrants are just here. You got healthcare coverage. Do you see what's happening here, family? And this coverage is going, as well as all the assistance that immigrants are receiving, non-citizens. They haven't paid any taxes at all to contribute to the budgets of California or the federal government. They just got here a few days ago, a few weeks ago, a few months ago. Right? They're not working jobs. They can't. I'll go over that in a moment. If they're doing anything to make some money legally, they're starting independent businesses. Like they may set up a pop-up food stand, or, start washing cars or something, where they're independently making money for themselves, which everybody should have a right to do that. Now, that's not the issue. But they're not paying no taxes out of that money, because they're not, it's customer to to business owner direct. A service is being provided. The immigrant is being paid by the customer. The state and federal government has no information or connection with how much money that person is making with their independent businesses. So again, even in that example, they're actually working, but they're and making money, but they're still not paying taxes. The only time they begin to pay taxes into the state, federal and state taxes is when they got to a point where they've gotten some sort of qualified status that gives them the right to legally work in the U.S. Then they can go apply for regular so-called jobs, even if it's fast food or whatever, and be paid by regular businesses, business owners, as the rest of us citizens do, and then their pay is deducted taxes. But that's the only time when that happens. It takes some immigrants months, if not years, to get to a place where they have accomplished, qualified legal status to work. But they're still getting health care. They're still being put in hotels. They're still being given cash assistance. They're still being given SNAP for however long. Just here you go. But they run in citizens, especially family, you already know. Many of us so-called black people through all this hell I just showed you previously, canceling our assistance, many of us that are receiving, playing games, but at the same time they're doing stuff like this for people who are not even citizens, who just literally just walked into the country. Yeah. Now, be clear. I keep trying to explain to people that there is a deeper purpose for this, okay? As many of you already know, especially in regards to so-called black community, they're doing this, they're canceling assistance and not providing assistance to many of us, right? While at the same time, as I said, providing this assistance, no problem, to non-citizens. You've seen the reports, many out of Chicago, New York, stuff like that. But here we go. The deeper thing that's happening is they're being so nice and good to people who are not citizens, these immigrants, right? Because they're hoping in many of these states that when these citizens, or let's say immigrants, I should say, do become qualified or receive qualified status, that soon when they make the new White Not Say So laws where they give immigrants the right to vote, that these immigrants will remember who gave them all this free help. And in exchange, most of these immigrants will actually vote for them. They can't do it yet, right? But as you see on your screen, do your research. There are states where local jurisdictions are considering allowing non-citizens to vote, including Maryland, California, Illinois, Vermont, District of Columbia, New York, and Massachusetts. Do those names of those states sound familiar? That's what most of the states you're hearing about in all the news and the mainstream media and social media reports about, where the non-citizens are being dropped off, right? You see that? Yeah. Black family, so-called black family, they're replacing our vote, is the point that I'm making. They're replacing not only us in the job market in many ways, but more importantly, they're replacing our vote, because they know the cat's, well, actually the cat's been out the bag since slavery, but since they so-called gave us the right to vote. But especially here recently, more and more so-called black people have awakened to what's really going on. How they're giving everybody else money and assistance and laws of protection, all kind of stuff that makes their lives better, but they're not doing nothing for us so-called black people and so-called black community. This is one of the reasons why. They're not worried about doing this in our faces, because they're expecting to replace us, and specifically replace our votes, when they make these new laws up here soon giving non-citizens the right to vote. It's coming, y'all. In addition, they want a lot of the non-citizens, a lot of the immigrants, legal or not, they want them coming in because, as I say all the time in previous reports, slavery never ended, especially here in the U.S. It was actually just expanded and rebranded. They gave it new names. And you don't call you slaves anymore, they call you employee. You're not a slave anymore in regards to where you live. You're a tenant with a landlord. You see that? These are just new names for slaves. And many people are waking up and realizing, as I said, slavery never ended. It was just expanded. So the government, federal and local, they want these non-citizens to come over here, because these citizens coming from wherever they're coming from, coming here, like where they're coming from, they may only barely make a couple of dollars, a few dollars an hour where they came from. But when they get here, they can make minimum wage or start their own independent business, and if they're successful, make really good money, in what's relative to what they were making where they came from. So in other words, again, minimum wage is great pay for most of the immigrants. They love that. That's like, oh yes, that's oftentimes double or triple of what they were making back in their home. Do you see that, family? So the immigrants appreciate these, what we consider slave wage jobs. They're loving them. Do you see that? Yeah, family. So as I advocate here at One Brothas Mind, I try to explain this many times, but I literally am putting it on your screen. And before we go over this, again, please smash the like button, share this report on all your social media with all your peoples, and be sure to be subscribed to One Brothas Mind. We try to bring you the information, facts, and truth you need. Definitely share this report, especially about this that's on your screen. Most of us so-called black people, especially foundational black Americans here, descendants of the slave trade, we're voting, most of us just vote Democrat, no matter what, right? We have to stop doing that. I've been saying this for years and trying to stress this for years. Because we're getting nothing for our votes. Every other community or group of people that's voting is getting new laws put in place that make their lives better. Whether it's money, some sort of security law, education law, whatever it is. So-called black people, the so-called black community, we're getting nothing and haven't got anything going back past the civil rights movement. And, many of you are now awakening to the truth that the civil rights bill really didn't benefit the black community. Not as much as it benefited other groups of people and so-called white women. It benefited those groups more than it benefited the black community. So, what I advocate here at One Brothas Mind is, like I said, it's on your screen. Us so-called black people, because that's not a group of people. That's y'all know that's made up. But anyway, us so-called black people, we must vote as one block. Yes. But we must vote with a purpose, requiring and demanding things for our vote that makes our lives better. Specifically, the so-called black community, especially foundational black Americans descended of the transatlantic slave trade. We must vote as one block. And we must not vote during the election. No. Wait until the election is over. And whatever candidate, whatever party wins the election, then we go to that candidate and offer our vote to them for the next or upcoming election for them to be reelected. We say, okay, we'll vote for you, no matter Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever it is, on the next election down the road if you pass laws that make our lives better, the laws that we need, that we identify, not laws and things you want to come up with. No. The things that we need, like short list examples on the right of your screen: reparations, cash reparations, hate crime laws, police reform, education laws that make our lives better, to name a few. And we'll vote for you in exchange for these new laws for so-called black issues while you're in office. You got it. In other words, as the incumbent, you have to pass laws on these issues on the right now while you're the elected official. And if you do, on the next election, as a group, we'll come and vote you, put our votes behind you because you passed a law, one of these laws over here that we need as the so-called black community. Do you see that? But if the incumbent doesn't pass these laws and they do what they normally do, oh well, yeah, we working on that. We're gonna do a study. We're gonna work on that. I'm trying. They come up with excuses. This party, these representatives are fighting me, and we ain't trying to hear none of that. They don't give no other group the excuses that they give to the so-called black community, as we are demanding laws that makes our lives better, just like every other group is getting. Okay? They don't give them the excuses that they give us. They give us fish fries and come to our jacked up churches. Don't even get me started on the churches, so-called black churches, and talk down to us. And unfortunately, most so-called black people still go out there and vote. And you post all over social media, I got my button. They so excited, so happy. And okay, all you got was a button. for your vote. You didn't get anything that made your life better. And most of y'all will, trust me, I've been arguing with people for decades about this issue. They go, well, our ancestors fought and died for our right to vote, so we have to go out and vote. Because Katie Smooth, I don't vote, right? But that's a lie. They didn't fight and die just for us to have the right to vote. They fought and died for us to vote and get tangible things, tangible laws that makes our life better and more secure here in this country. That's what they fought and died for. Not just to go in and punch a couple of buttons and walk out and get nothing. Yeah, family. Number one, we're supposed to be getting reparations. Cash reparations. Cut the check. They got billions for non-citizens. At the same time, they still haven't paid us our reparations on what we were owed and our ancestors were owed for slavery, for free labor. In addition to the deletions, the lynchings, the grapes, the land that was stolen, just go down the list. They have not paid us what they owe. They paid a bunch of other groups cash reparations, right? The Asian community that was kept in camps here in the U.S. Look up your history. They paid them. They paid the slave masters, the slave owners, at the end of the Civil War that lost their slaves, so-called because the slaves were free. They gave them cash to help cover the loss of their business, their slave. I mean, go down the list, man. Just do your own research. Who's been paid reparations? What groups have been paid reparations here in the U.S.? There's a list. But so-called black people are not on it. And what's even more satanic about that is the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade here in the U.S., that free labor that our ancestors provided, was forced to provide, that's where they made the monies that have grown in interest that they're using today to provide money and assistance to people that are not even citizens, let alone other countries like Israel and Ukraine, and they're using the blood money from our ancestors to do these things. They're spreading around billions every year in blood money from our ancestors. Be clear on that, family. Be clear on that. Okay? And another point, there's a lot of reparations talk that's been going on the last couple years, and I've been trying to make this point to most so-called black people that we get these discussions going. Yes, we're demanding cash reparations like many other groups have been paid, right? But understand what's on your screen. Most white people only want to pay white people money or cash. They don't want to pay that to us. That's their biggest problem with reparations. Okay? Now you'll hear they'll do studies in different states, and the government will come up with stuff. They'll say, well, we can do a housing program, we can do this kind of program, or set up this kind of program. The programs is what's on your screen. Whether it's the federal government or the states, they will hand the cash that's owed to the descendants of the transatlantic slave trades, the foundational Black Americans. They'll hand, instead of giving us our cash, they prefer to hand it to other people, other white people, non-for-profits, businesses, corporations, state governments, and go, here's the money that we owe them. Y'all make programs and pass it out to them. Do you see that? You see that satanic trick? They're giving money that's owed to us and then those white people start to manage passing out the money that we're owed. It keeps us, family, dependent and subservient to them. Do you see that, family? That's why we demand cash reparations. No middleman. Cut the check right now. Just like y'all have to many other people and groups. But you see that trick? This is one of the main why most white people don't support reparations, cash reparations. They might say okay to a program here, there. Well, here's affirmative action. Here's this program. Here's welfare. Here's the assistance program. That's your No. The assistance programs are only in place because cash reparations have not been paid to the slaves and the descendants of the slave here in the U.S. We've never been financially or wealth-wise made whole from the satanic condition of chattel slavery. That's why those assistance programs are needed by many of us, many in the so-called black community. Do you see that, family? How about our white brothers and sisters? Do y'all see that? Right? When slavery ended, they just said, okay, bye, y'all free. They were supposed to give us 40 acres and a mule, but they shot that down real quick. They canceled that real fast. We got nothing. In slavery, we had nothing. We came out of slavery with absolutely nothing. No land, no mules, no tools, nothing. And been scratching and scraping to get by and try to build something and what have you ever since. That's why most so-called black people in the black community are still so far behind. That's why there's a wealth gap. We didn't have nothing at the beginning. We started behind because we were slaves. Enslaved by y'all ancestors. Yeah. Let's move on. So with all that being said, family, I wanted to provide some practical solutions of things that we can do to help fight or counteract these dirty satanic tricks that they're doing with the assistance programs. Okay? Starting in the middle of your screen, you have to stay connected, family, with your mail on a daily basis. No matter what's going on in your life, you got to be checking your mail every day because, as I showed you earlier, in many cases, you're only getting a couple of few days to respond to these program cancellation information request letters. Okay? Also, if we're in the middle of relocating, we need to remember to go put in a mail forwarding address at the post office. You can actually do it online as well. So you don't have to go up to the post office. But put in that forwarding address so that your mail is redirected to your new address without any significant problems. So you can continue to be getting your mail and checking your mail on a daily basis. The documents that are being requested by these assistance program tricks, don't just get the document and take it to them. Get these documents, make copies of them, and keep them, digitize them, whatever you got to do. Scan them, whatever. Keep copies of these, because like I said, a lot of these information requests are requesting the same information multiple times over. So a lot of times you can use the same document that you just sent them last month, right? Oftentimes. So keep those documents, okay? And another practical solution that many of you may not be aware of. Most all of the assistance offices, they accept documents turned in by way of fax machine. So if you're in a situation, homeless, starting a new job, ill, whatever the case may be, if you have a fax machine at home, you can fax your documents in. And if you don't have a fax machine, but you got a computer or cell phone, smartphone, you can go on, there are websites where you can go on and send fax documents for free. Got to follow their little information, step-by-step instructions, but you can literally fax documents to the assistance office for free. That way you can ensure, and then after you fax it, remember to contact or call that assistance office and confirm that they received your fax. If you do fax it, don't just send it over and go, I sent it to y'all. No, call and get confirmation, okay, that your documents made it. And even better, if there's a way that you can receive, they can mail or provide you with a confirmation letter documenting that your documents were received, that would even be better. Whether they want to fax that back to you or send it to you in an email or make it available for you to pick up on a, whatever the case may be, okay? And then another one, family, top left screen of your screen, we have to continue. Many so-called black people have already begun doing this, getting their side hustles on, and in fact, even better, turning their side hustles into full-time businesses, independent businesses. All right, where we're the boss, we're our own boss. We control what we do, when we do it, and how we do it. Okay, we got to do even more of this, family. More. Because as y'all remember, when during the pandemic, most of us had these jobs and they just closed the job, shut it down, and was like, oh, you can't come to work. So many of us could not continue to make our income. And we were stuck, right? Now imagine during that time, especially if it happened to you, if you had your own independent business, your own side hustle already that you had turned into a full-time business. There's some examples there again at the top left. When they closed most of these people's jobs out here for the so-called pandemic, you could continue to work your business. Many independent businesses thrived during the so-called pandemic. Do you see that, family? Again, One Brothas Mind here with practical solutions, ways we can fight back. Also, one additional note. Many of you may not be aware that the assistance office, in many cases, is required to obtain the information that they're requesting from you, they're required to attain it themselves. Contact the entities that they already have on record, like say your job or your school, your college, your whatever, and get whatever information that they are trying to request from you. In many cases, they're required to do it themselves, because a 730 trick is, they know this, but they're sending you the letter and they're wanting you to do the work for them that they're required to do, right? But because they are requesting, in many cases, the information so frequently, many people are requesting this information over and over and over again from whether it's their job or wherever it's coming from. And eventually the information provider tells those of us that are requesting it, no, we're not providing you. We just gave you that information a few weeks ago or last month or whatever it was, a couple months ago. They want this information, give them this number to call and tell them they need to call us. We're not just going to keep passing out the same information. This is ridiculous, right? And so, again, a lot of people that are receiving assistance are getting that response because the harassment is at such a frequency. And so they're then able to turn that phone number and contact person's information in, instead of these keep turning in documents and say, y'all get the information. If you want it, y'all get it. They won't give it to me no more. Why? I don't work there no more. They don't have to. Do you see that? As in one example. So again, family, for most of us, if you're making a wage that you still qualify for assistance, I hate to break it to you, but you're making a slave wage. You're still a slave in the U.S. here. Okay? But there's a solution for that. If you're making a wage where you work in Walmart or wherever, and you're making an amount of money, but you still qualify assistance, you can flip that and start your own independent business, whatever it is. Some examples on your screen. And in most cases, if you have great customer service, you're dependable, good communication, you can make way more money, family, than you're making on your slave wage job. Again, family, many of us have done this, but thousands, actually millions more of us need to do this even more. Okay? For most of us that are making slave wages, this is our exodus plan. This is how we get past their traps of financial slavery. Okay? Why? Because, as many of you know, in Scripture, we're called, family, to live set apart. As it reads in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yah. Okay. This verse definitely is interpreted spiritually. It literally says by the transformed and renewing of your mind. But also, this verse and being not conformed is a practical thing where we're not living by the way they say we're supposed to live or doing the things that they say we're supposed to do, right? Here's a short list on the left side of your screen. I've already spoken about changing our income source. Do you, instead of renting our whole lives, we should be trying to buy homes, buy property. And real quick, I got reports at One Brothas Mind. I've done reports on black homelessness exploding, where I explain how many of us should be trying to buy homes differently than everybody else is. Instead of us trying to kill ourselves financially to go out and buy that $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 home, we should be actually out buying homes in the $40,000 to $80,000 range relative to your state you live in. Okay? Specifically homes that we can pay off in full in 10 to 15 years, preferably 10 years. Okay? And you say, why do that, Katie Smooth? Because if you buy a home that you can afford to literal pay off in 10 years, right? I know you want a bigger, better home to be flousing, but get the first one, pay it off. Get a smaller, more affordable home and pay it off in 10 years. That way, number one, if nothing else happens to where you can go buy a bigger home, more expensive home, if nothing else happens, you have a home that's paid off. You have somewhere to live for the rest of your life. For free, with the exception of property tax. Do you see that, family? Then, of course, if in that 10-year span, your money game done came up even more, and you decide you can afford a larger home or more expensive home, there's nothing stopping you from selling that home that you have and going to buy a more expensive home. Preferably a home that you can pay off in 10 years. You said, why you keep stressing the 10 years, Katie Smooth? Because it used to be in the U.S., people work jobs, the same job for 20, 25, 30 years or more. Them days are long gone. Right? In fact, on average here in the U.S., most people will change jobs approximately every 5 years or less. So my point is, most of our incomes are only reliable for approximately 5 years. And then we switching jobs, changing jobs, got to find another job. Things of that nature for many of us, for the average, right? So if you bought a home, you working a job, you're like, I like this job, I'm staying here. Okay, fine, you working it approximately 5 years roll around. The literal company shut down, closed. That wasn't your fault. Now you back out here, unemployed, looking for another job similar or what have you. It would definitely at least the same pay, if not more. You see that? And in most cases, if you got skills and, what trades and what have you that, especially licenses that qualify you for a job, you'll eventually get another job and you'll be able to continue, move on. But if your home that you've purchased, you set it up for a 10-year plan, it's a amount that you can pay off in 10 years, you have a better chance of paying that off in 10 years and having a home that no matter what happens after that, you got somewhere to live for the rest of your life, versus signing for a 30. Some people are signing for 40-year mortgages to get that big old $200, $300, $400, $500,000 house or whatever it is. Now they got to fight, scrape, and sweat trying to pay that mortgage for the next 30, 40 years. Do you see the problem there? Now, again, there's nothing stopping you from upgrading. You buy the first home that you can afford to pay off in 10 years, set up a 10-year plan, mortgage. It's yours. As soon as that you've paid that off, there's nothing stopping you from upgrading if financially you can afford to upgrade. But I would say at every upgrade going forward after that, keep following the 10-year plan. Look at your life and where you are and what you got going on, especially financially. Am I going to be consistent for at least the next 10 years with my income? Can I count on it? Yes. Okay. Upgrade. Go and get you another house, bigger house, but one that you can pay off in 10 years. Don't jump off the cliff like everybody else is doing, like the system teaches us to do, like most of us desire to do because we want that big old house so we can floss with our friends, then end up losing it in 5 to 8 years or 10 years because our income, something happened to our jobs. We lost a job or got fired or the business closed or whatever the case may be. Do you see that? Same thing with our health. We're supposed to be consistently working to improve our health, our diet and things so we stay healthy, so we can stay off these satanic pills and drugs that they got out here. Right? We can provide good health for ourselves with a good healthy diet and exercise and natural so-called treatments. Solar power. Many of y'all know we've had power outages and there's going to be more. And in one example there in Texas, when that cold spell came down through there, many people had generators. They had gas generators. They may have had power for a few days, but that gas ran out after a couple days. No more power. But if they had a solar generator, which is significantly more expensive, that's a key piece there. But if they actually had one, they would have been able to generate and provide power for their home and themselves and their family, heat, all that without no problem. Instead of the dangerous situation that ended up happening for most there in Texas, where many people were literally deleted because of the cold. They couldn't heat. People's homes burned down because they literally started fires. Some people inside their homes trying to stay warm, and others literally just froze to death. Provide options for us to provide our own water, whether it's well waters on our properties or, water catching systems for when Yah provides free water. Let's say that. Do you have food storage? Are you growing your own food? The more we do that, we need to get our gardens going. If you're not growing your own food, you can't just wake up tomorrow, snap your finger and start a garden. There's a lot of learning and trial and error you have to do to learn how to grow the various different foods that you eat that will sustain you and your family. For many, it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 tries at growing something before you figure out everything that you need to know about growing that one thing that's going to make it grow right and produce the harvest that'll feed your family. If you haven't started, get started today. Are we providing our own security? Do we have our power tools on the ready with us at all times? Yeah. Aren't our lives worth defending? Communication. You know, when SHTF happened or whatever, a bad storm or whatever it is happened, one of the first things that gets cut off, and I mean cut off, whether it be by the storm or by the so-called officials, is the communication, the cell phone towers and stuff. Y'all watch what happened there in Hawaii? They shut all the communication stuff off. People at a certain point couldn't communicate no more. Weren't receiving communications. Imagine you're a parent and your children are out and about. You can't, there's no cell phone signal. What you gonna do? Many people got caught in that situation. Whether it was in Hawaii or even going back to Hurricane Katrina. Same thing. But they cut off the cell towers. Yeah, I said it. But if you and your kids live in the same home or in close proximity to each other, there is an option of long-range walkie-talkies that will always work because they use the radio waves that's in the air. Right? You don't have to worry about nothing being cut off with long-range walkie-talkies. You have your own communication option when needed, as well as transportation. Yeah, I know everybody got cars, but cars need gas. If there's power outages that last a long time, you can't get no more gas. What you gonna do? There are other transportation options out there. There's electric options. There's the old school bicycles. Yeah, those are still options. There's all kinds of different options. You need to do your research and decide what kind of transportation options, or at least backup transportation options, that will work best for you and your family. But do these things early, yo. You can't wait on none of this stuff until whatever happens. It's too late then. You got to be doing this stuff and working on this stuff now. And myself, Katie Smooth, do I have all of these things covered in regards to my preps? 100% no. But I got a little more than half of them done. I got a little more than half of them on lock already. And I'm working on the remaining ones to fulfill. So it's a process, family. Like, you can't snap your fingers and have your set apart solutions, your independent solutions, your homestead solutions, your off-grid solutions all ready to go in one day at the same time. For most of us, that's impossible. You pick one and you start there. You get that one prepped up, and then you go to the next one, and then you go to the next one. And over time, oftentimes it takes years, you realize you got over half the list or more already prepped and ready to go. And at that point, all you do is maintain them. So when it SHTF or whatever it is, storms, whatever happens, you're already ready to go. In so many ways, it's not going to hurt you and your family so bad. You're going to be able to have a better chance to survive. Do you see that, family? And while you're doing all that, you're being obedient to Scripture. Like the Scripture here in Romans 12:2. Be ye not conformed to this world, but be transformed, set apart. In other words, another way many people say it is be in the world, but not of the world. Why? On your screen. Revelations chapter 13, verses 16 through 17. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or name of the beast or number of his name. This is coming. Nobody knows. Nobody can predict exactly what it is or how soon it's going to come or how far away we are from it. But it should be clear to most people. We ain't got long, family. And if we're not living set apart, if we're not living independently, when this comes, you're going to be stuck. Especially as people, as a parent, I gotta eat, man. I gotta be able to feed my kids. You gonna take that mark, whatever it is they tell you gotta do. You gonna do it. Well, ain't nothing else I can do. Oh yeah, it was. You supposed to been prepping a long time ago. Living set apart years ago. Preparing yourselves and your family and your children. Teaching them how to do it. So that when this comes, when they say you can't come to the grocery store unless you got this mark, you're like, okay, no problem. My whole backyard's a garden on my property that I own. I don't have to worry about that. I got everything. I got greens, vegetables, potatoes, fruits, rice, whatever I need, I got it. Y'all go ahead and do y'all thing. Did you see that? But if you ain't got no garden, and they tell you you have to have the mark to get some food, and you have no garden, most people, you gonna go ahead and take that mark. You're not gonna starve, and you're not gonna let your kids starve. You see the trap that's being set for you? Yeah, family. So with that being said, you only got a couple options. I mean, you can keep ignoring this information. You see the games that they're playing with the assistance programs already. But you can sit back, ignore it. I ain't worried about all this. I'd rather keep watching what's going on with Kanye or TD Jakes or whoever's in the news, Diddy. That's most important to you right now. Being a 304, whatever. Keep on playing games. Before you know it, that day is going to just creep up on you. You're going to wake up and boom, that mark is here. You're restricted unless you take the mark. Right? So again, as I've just said, these things are coming, all these assistance programs, they're playing games with them now. They've been playing games with them. But at a certain point, they're going to cut these things off from you, family. Unless you take their mark of the beast. You see that? Then they'll help you. Do you see that? It's just like the trial run we just had over the last 3-4 years, when they tried to make that thing, they wanted everybody to take mandatory during the Predator. And here at One Brothas Mind, we call that thing that deleted millions of people all over the world. Here about a year or so ago, we call that the Predator. And then that thing they try to force everybody to get all over the world, we call that the ooey, right? So that was a trial run, a practice run. That was training. In reality, to see who would comply. Well, you're going to be fired by this date if you don't take the ooey. Most people went ahead and took the ooey. They go, I got to keep paying my bills. I got to feed my family. I got to take the ooey. Ain't got no choice. This is exactly how they're going to do the mark of the beast. Do you see that, family? And no real judgment here from One Brother's Mind if that's what you decided to do, but hopefully you're still here with us if you're listening to this report. Thank God you're still here with us. But hopefully you've learned something from that experience and how you are making better decisions going forward. Right? Because there were many who said, no, I'm not taking the ooey. I'm not doing none of that. Anything y'all telling us or telling me I have to do. I'd rather stand on my faith in Yahuwah and Yeshua HaMashiach for my provisions. So y'all gonna do whatever y'all want to do. Y'all gonna fire me? Okay, go ahead, whatever. I'm gonna come to work tomorrow though still. Y'all gonna have to tell me I can't come in. Because y'all ain't gonna tell me I abandoned and didn't show up. I'm gonna show up tomorrow like I normally do. Y'all got to tell me I can't come in and work. Okay? But if that's what y'all do, okay, fine. Yah will make a way for me. Do you see the difference? As it reads in Isaiah 41:10, fear not, for I, Yah, am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your Yah, your Elohim. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. But you have to take the leap of faith and just completely depend on Yah. Yeah, family. That's what this whole set apart living thing is about. It's living and walking spiritually and mentally and practically in this physical world by faith, by living set apart, preparing ourselves for what most of us know is coming. No man knows the day or the hour. So with that said, if you're still not sure of what's coming and what's happening, you should be doing this. Have you ever read the Bible from beginning to end? Don't answer that question. Most people who call themselves so-called Christians, y'all have not. Yes, I have. Katie Smooth has done that. Yes, absolutely. Okay, I've read it. I read it officially one time from cover to cover, and then I've been studying ever since. So I got the equivalent of reading it multiple times, right? But this is where you not only learn who Yah is and who Yeshua HaMashiach or Yeshua the Christ is, and build your belief and faith. This is how you do it. Right there on your screen. You have to read it. Stop listening to your pastor, this person or that. Don't even listen to KD Smooth. Read it for yourself. Literally, scripture says, study to show thyself approved. Another side note, some of you are listening to this report or actually avoid listening to social media reports like this one, where we discuss topics and many times discuss scriptural topics, teach on and provide information from scripture. I've heard many people say, well, I don't be out there just listening to everybody in scripture. Everybody ain't right. People crazy with their interpretations and all this other stuff. Yes, you are correct. But you know what the truth is? For everybody that says that, maybe even you, the reason why you won't or don't feel comfortable listening to other people teach, preach, and discuss on social media, on the internet, topics of scripture, it's because you don't know what scripture says. You've never done this from cover to cover. That's the truth for everybody that says that. Because if you've done this from cover to cover and continued your studies after that, you can listen to pretty much anybody in person or on social media, on the internet or whatever, and very quickly you can discern, based on what you read and study, if what they are saying, teaching, and the information they're providing is lined correctly with scripture or not. You can quickly determine that and discern that, and that tells you to keep listening or to turn them off. But you can't do that because you've never done this on your screen. So miss me with that attitude. You need to be doing this. Yeah. Catch up. Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. All right, family. Why? Yeah. It's on your screen. Because our King is coming. Yeshua HaMashiach. He's coming for his church, the people that are following and being obedient to scripture, the word. But guess what? You to be obedient to the word, you got to do this first, right? So you know what to do, what not to do, how to live, how to treat people. Yeah. Once you start getting those things down, then you can begin to feel like you're closer and closer being ready and prepared for our King's return. And this concludes this broadcast for One Brothas Mind. We thank you for joining us. And as a part of the new Black media, B1 choices are mandatory and being on code is required. But never fear, Yeshua, the Christ, is with you always. Shalom.